Betrayal always hides in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to tear a life apart. Tonight's story isn't about love. It's about secrets, deception, and the brutal price of infidelity. A husband hires a private investigator to uncover the truth about his wife's affair. But what they uncover sets the stage for a revenge no one saw coming. Welcome to Breakup, Cheater, where betrayal, secrets, and the darkest truths come to light. Here, every story is more than just words. It's a descent into the hidden corners of human nature. Sit back, listen closely, and remember. The night reveals everything. My real name isn't something I give out on cases, but for this story, call me Daniel Cross. I'm a private investigator, and let me tell you, this line of work isn't the glamorous fantasy Hollywood likes to dress it up as. It's not fast cars, high-tech gadgets, and action-packed standoffs. No, it's mostly long nights sitting in a car that smells like stale French fries, eating lukewarm takeout, and watching people make decisions that will burn their lives to the ground. But every so often, a case lands on my desk that shakes me out of the routine. This one began with a man named Richard Hale. Mid-40s, polished, wealthy. One of those guys who wore his success like armor. But the moment he walked into my office, it was clear that armor had been cracked. His shoulders were stiff, his eyes red, and his jaw was set in a way that told me he hadn't slept in days. "She's cheating," he said flatly, dropping into the chair across from me. It wasn't the first time I'd heard those words. Usually, there's a little desperation in a client's voice, some small flicker of hope that I'll tell them they're wrong, that it's just paranoia. But not Richard. He already knew. Without another word, he slid a thick envelope across my desk. Inside, neatly arranged photos of his wife, Elena Hale. Blonde, late 30s, elegant in that effortless way that made people stop and stare. Tucked in with her photo was her phone number, and beneath that, a crisp stack of bills. $10,000. Retainer, evidence, and silent plea all rolled into one. "Her name's Elena," he muttered. "We've been married 16 years. I just need to know who." He didn't say if. He didn't need to. Elena wasn't sneaking off to yoga classes, that much I found out quick. On the third day of tailing her, she led me right into the arms of her secret. A chic, glass-walled bistro downtown. That's where he appeared. Ethan Ward. Early 30s, tailored suit, designer watch, and the kind of smug jawline that screamed trouble. This wasn't some random mistake. This was a planned, deliberate affair. Elena leaned across the table, her laughter too loud, her hand brushing his arm like it belonged there. I snapped the photo. Not because I needed it, no, Richard already knew. But because men like Richard need to see it. Proof hits harder than suspicion. Over the next week, I dug deeper. What I found wasn't sloppy infatuation. It was systematic betrayal. Elena and Ethan were meeting at hotels, sneaking into a leased apartment, even going at it in his car during daylight. She wasn't just cheating. She was practiced at it. When I finally handed Richard the folder, photos, recordings, even messages explicit enough to make a sailor blush, he didn't rage. He didn't cry. He just flipped through the evidence, his face unreadable, except for that faint flicker of something colder than grief. "She thinks she's clever," he said quietly. That's when I knew. Richard wasn't a man falling apart. He was a man preparing his next move. "What about him?" he asked, tapping the photo of Ethan. "Ethan Ward," I replied. "Vice president at a mid-sized tech company. Married, 2 kids. Lives out in the suburbs. The kind of guy who thinks rules don't apply to him." Richard let out a humorless chuckle. "And his wife? She know?" "Not yet," I said. "But from what I hear, she's not exactly forgiving. Name's Vanessa Ward. And here's the kicker. She's the one paying the lease on the apartment where your wife and Ethan meet." Richard leaned back, gears turning in his head. "Get in touch with her. Let's make this collaborative." The next day, I was sitting across from Vanessa at a quiet cafe. Late 30s, sharp-eyed, polished. She radiated control, the kind of woman who didn't crumble when the ground shifted under her. She dug her heels in. When I showed her the evidence, she didn't break down. She simply studied the photos like she was reviewing a business report. Finally, she looked up and asked, "What do you need from me?" Richard had been right. Vanessa wasn't a victim. She was a storm waiting to break. That evening, the four of us gathered in Vanessa's living room. Richard, Vanessa, her brother Lucas, a hulking ex-boxer built like a wall, and me. The air was heavy, not with sadness, but with calculation. Richard brought the legal plan. I brought the dirt. Lucas the muscle. And Vanessa, she brought fury sharpened into steel. "They'll be meeting at the apartment tomorrow night," I said. 7 sharp. "No need for you to wire the place," Vanessa interrupted coolly. "I already have surveillance installed. I'll send you the live feed." She smoothed her skirt and added, "Richard, you'll get your divorce. I'll take care of Ethan. As for your wife," she glanced at him, "do you want her humiliated or destroyed?" "Both," Richard said without hesitation. Vanessa smiled. "Good. Then let's give them a night they'll never forget." The following evening I sat in my car with my laptop open, watching the live feed. Ethan arrived first, smug as ever, pouring himself a drink like he owned the place. Elena followed, dressed to kill, her lips already on his before the door shut. The cameras caught every detail, every kiss, every groan. They were oblivious, walking straight into the snare. At 7:15, Richard's car pulled up. Lucas in the passenger seat. They didn't storm in. Richard wasn't reckless. He knocked 3 deliberate raps. Inside, the feed showed Ethan stiffen mid-act. Elena scrambled for the sheets. "Stay here," Ethan muttered, throwing on a robe. "I'll handle it." The door swung open. Ethan barely had time to register Richard's face before Richard's fist connected with his jaw, dropping him like a stone. He stepped over the crumpled man without a glance and walked straight into the bedroom. "Elena," he said, voice steady, almost casual. "What a surprise seeing you here." She froze, clutching the blanket. "Richard, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" he repeated. "Well, I figured since you're screwing around in another man's wife's apartment, the least I could do was stop by to say hello." Ethan groaned on the floor. "Who the hell are you?" Richard turned, cold as ice. "I'm the husband of the woman you've been betting. In your wife's apartment." He paused, eyeing Ethan's swelling jaw. "How's that working out for you?" By then Vanessa and Lucas had stepped inside. Vanessa's gaze was locked on Elena, her expression a mix of contempt and amusement. Richard's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Here's how this goes. Elena, you're finished. Clothes, jewelry, everything I bought you, gone. Bank accounts, cut. Divorce papers. On your desk tomorrow. Don't bother fighting it, you'll lose." Then he turned to Ethan. "As for you, well, your wife has something to say." Vanessa stepped forward, heels clicking like gunshots. She tossed an envelope onto Ethan's chest. "Divorce papers. Already signed. The house is mine. The kids are mine. The car. Mine too. By the time I'm done with you, you'll be lucky to afford a bus pass." Ethan's face drained of color. "Vanessa, please, we can work this out." "No," she snapped. "You don't get to beg. You thought you could humiliate me. Now it's my turn." Richard leaned down close to Ethan. "You think this is bad? Wait until Vanessa's father gets wind of it. I hear he has friends. You'll be lucky if losing your job is the worst that happens." Lucas cracked his knuckles, towering over him. "Might want to start running now." Richard glanced back at Elena, who was sobbing hysterically. "The kids already know what you did. They've seen the proof. Good luck explaining yourself to them." Then, without another word, Richard, Vanessa, and Lucas walked out, leaving the 2 cheaters broken in their own mess. The fallout was immediate. Ethan's career crumbled overnight, thanks to Vanessa's father, an ex-colonel with connections high enough to erase him from the corporate world. His reputation was shredded. His name turned into a neighborhood punchline. Elena didn't fare better. Richard froze her out financially, and their children refused to speak with her. Last I heard, she was sleeping on her sister's couch, unwanted and alone. Richard, meanwhile, carried on like a man reborn. He stopped by my office a week later, collected the rest of the recordings and smirked. Elena's begging for another chance, but I blocked her number. The kids are with me. And Vanessa. Let's just say Ethan won't know what hit him. Think she should go easy on him? Yes. Richard shook his head. Not a chance. That woman's a shark. Before leaving, he paused at the door. You ever wonder why people do this? Why they risk everything? Shrug. Haven't figured it out yet. Let me know when you do, he said, and then he was gone. That night, I poured myself a glass of scotch and thought about the wreckage left behind. Cheaters always think they're untouchable, that their little secrets will stay hidden forever. But the truth always comes out. And when it does, the cost is steep. That's the thing about my job. I see the worst in people every day. But the truth, it's messy, it's ugly, and it's strangely satisfying. And in the end, truth always wins. In the end, the cheaters thought they were untouchable. But lies have a way of collapsing in on themselves, leaving only wreckage behind. Richard walked away stronger, while Elena and Ethan paid the price for their betrayal. The truth is harsh, but it always comes to light. This has been another story of betrayal, consequences, and cold justice, here on Breakup Cheater. You've just listened to another tale from Breakup Cheater. If tonight's story left a chill in your spine, don't forget to subscribe and join us again, because under the blood moon, the truth always finds its way out. Until next time, watch the shadows.